Hello and welcome back to part 2 of the Liberator. So, I'd best get straight into it. I've done a bit of work since the last video. I've put some parts on the interior, just about to get ready to paint them. Then I've also filled in the nose for the B-24 with some liquid gravity. So that's something that I mentioned, I think was mentioned in the first video. Talking about doing nose weight, so I've done that on this bit now. This bit under here is already pre-filled. 30 grams, should be another 25 grams or so. That's a bit of weight to keep it on its nose. Hopefully it'll be enough. If not, I'll chuck some in the front cowling or something. So that's what I did here. Did some bit of quick scratch building with some plastic art just to create a sort of a box shape. It's not elegant by any means, but it does the job. I've got that built up just so it holds some of this in place. Literally it's just some liquid gravity, bought off Amazon, a couple of quid, and some super glue. Simple but effective at the end of the day. That's all it needs to be, really. So, let's best get straight into it. First of all, I'm going to paint up the interior. So there's three main colours for here. There's 226 interior green, US interior green. There is a grey. Not sure exactly what the colour is for the Bombay and the section above the Bombay. And then there is a tan of some sort. I've not actually checked on this yet. I'll tell you what, find the chart, have a look. So, hopefully, while we're going through this as well, I'll talk a bit about facts and move on to some other of the sub-assemblies as well, while we're waiting for that to dry. Have a look here. 81 is a pale yellow. Might not have that in the stash. I'll have a look. See if I've got that paint in the stash. If not, I'll postpone that and go and buy some. Because this one is one that I do want to get fairly accurate. So, I'll start off with that interior green. It's the same interior green that I've been using the whole time. So it'll be the same process as per usual. Just going to shake it up, make sure to get a nice mix in the bottle. It's not got any grain or any like clumps in it. And then I'm just going to put it straight onto the palette. That was the wrong bottle. I need the other bottle. This one's my new one. It's one of the worst things about having two bottles of the same paint on the desk. You never remember which one's open and which one's closed. So let's try that again, shall we? The other bottle. That's better, a bit harder to open. So just put some of this into our palette, and then we can get to painting. So that should be plenty of that. Right, so I want to talk about facts-wise for B-24 is there's a lot of sort of debate on the internet about which was better, whether it was the B-24, the B-17, two of the most heavily used bombers by the US in the Second World War. So I want to go a bit into that. I've not got the exact facts written down, and I can't remember them for the life of me, but I will do the best to get them about right wherever I can. If I don't, then I'll make sure I say, just that way you know to go and research. So I'm quickly just painting this up with a coat of interior green, 226. Once again, not base coated the plastic. I don't really see much need in doing that. Just being careful around these boxes here, make sure I don't get any paint spilled on them. I also need to fit some parts into here in a second once I've painted this all up. So, in terms of the B-24 and B-17, it's a bit of a hit or miss as to whether you think that the B-24 was actually worse than the B-17. Statistically, you can say that it was, but there's a bit of a question in there. So statistically, the way the effectiveness was calculated was done by loss of aircraft. It was the number of bombs dropped on target divided by loss of aircraft, I believe. So in terms of that ranking, the B-17 comes higher. Can't remember the exact numbers now. I think it was something like 80%. It was some crazy difference. I remember. In terms of crew loss, once again, there's a much higher rate of loss both across the 8th Air Force in Britain and the 15th Air Force in Italy. There was a much higher rate of aircraft loss in both cases with the B-24. But one of the big deciding factors is B-24 was produced much faster. The plant, I think it was a Willows plant in America, produced a B-24 every hour for the majority of the war. I mean, that's thousands of B-24s. I can't remember the exact statistics for the B-17, but I know for the fact that it was less. There's one thing that I want to touch on quickly about, make sure you got superior. So obviously, gives different points of view as to which was superior and as to why. It's one of those important things people tend to forget sometimes, is what was better and why. So, those of you that have the last video, let's say welcome back actually, because the premiere went fairly well for what I expected. There's people turn up, people, and I think watched it afterwards as well. There's been a fair bit of traction for a brand new channel, so I want to say thank you to you all for coming along on this journey with me. So I'm just going to finish up this interior green colour here and I'll move on to the grey. I'm not going to bother too much about masking it off and things, I'll just eyeball it. I'm fairly good at that. I don't really do much masking in all reality. I should do some more to be fair, but I'm not that bothered about it. Now, there wasn't really much point in painting all that up because actually most of it gets covered. Well, done anyway. It's one of the big things about this hobby is people spend so much time on their interiors, and it's one of the things that I don't really like about the hobby is they get hidden away so easily. So if you look at something like HK models or border models, 1/32 scale, Lancaster, they do something amazing. They have like glass sections for the cockpit halves and the fuselage halves, so you can actually display the interior fully open, which I personally just love. I wish more companies would do that. I know Eduard and HK did a 148 B-17 not long ago for the 100th Air Force, 100th Bomb Group release, which was quite nice when they had a fully glass cockpit, which was obviously designed to be painted over, but you could leave it open if you want. I think that was a very nice touch by them for doing that rather than doing it in panels and glass, which is always a pain. I hate when companies do that. It drives me mad. I know that Airfix posted their 148th Chipmunk, released that a while ago, and I've not painted it up yet. I've been waiting to get some decals sorted for a custom scheme, but things that just drives me mad is the fact that it was a 3-part canopy, and it was just an absolute pain to get it to fit all together. You know, I've never really wanted to bother that sort of thing since. Right, so, in terms of substitute for this interior grey, I'm just going to use this Dungeon Stone from D&D. It's a nice simple grey colour. At the end of the day, I'm not that bothered about this. It's not going to get seen that much, so it's not a bother to me. There's no windows or anything here on this section. So, seeing as that's the case, I'm also just going to apply it straight in, because once again, not that bothered about how this section turns out. It's more just to make sure that it does get built. I'll wipe this brush off quickly, then it's all spread out. So at the end of the day, it is nice to know that it's all in there and all done up properly, but I don't really see much point in me doing this. It's like on this top section, it's supposed to be silver. So I'm doing this off camera. It's like on this top section here, it's supposed to be silver. They're 52 aluminum, I think it is. But I'm probably not going to bother with that. I'll probably just do the whole thing in this grey, because of the simple fact that it's just not really worth my time and effort. Something that isn't going to get seen at all. Once I would love to do this for you guys, it's not. I haven't got the time to be spending, you know, hours and hours and hours on a single kit, especially not at the moment. I'm trying to get prepped for this show. I'm trying to get some new kits built up that I'm, you know, more proud of. I didn't really anticipate I'd ever be doing shows up until recently. So now I'm trying to get some better quality kits out there. Now that's an issue with this paint. You see there, I don't know where you can see it on camera, but it is starting to flake a little bit and sort of pull in areas. Make sure I think about where it is because the camera's flipped. So yeah, you can see sort of it's starting to pull and flake a little bit. It's a pain, but it's worth it to go over it again, or I'll just leave it. I'm not that fussed. But at the end of the day, it's my hobby, and I'll do it how I please, as should you. People that go around rivet counters, people that do that they drive me mad. Don't get me wrong, I'm a sucker for some historical accuracy, and I will go out of my way to change major details, but it's people that go and insult other people's kits that just really get on my nerves. If you've got that much of an issue with it, go and build it yourself. And, some that don't even build models, they just go onto these forums and say, well, that's all wrong. Not even funny, mate, but, if you go and build models, you realise how hard it is to scratch build some of these parts. I went on a massive rant there, just realised that. Sorry about that, folks. Then we're going to a massive rant about rivet counters. Yeah. It's something you soon learn to just ignore in this hobby. Because they're annoying, but at the end of the day, they can't do much to hurt you, so, Yes. So, I'm going to finish up painting the interior, and I'll come back and meet you in a few. So, for a little while, just put down the first base coat, that tan. So I'm going to let that dry for a bit, and then I'll come back and put down another coat of it in a few. In the meantime, I'll get on with some sub-assemblies. So, the first sub-assemblies that I want to take a look at is the bombs. I think I'm going to get these out of the way and just get them done, because it's a small thing that I can just do while I'm waiting for paint to dry at the end of the day. So, the instructions up here out of the way, and we'll crack on. So, there we are. So, looking for sprue B. So, it's one of those things where literally it's a very repetitive process at the end of the day. Not much you can get away from though, so I've just got to live and deal with it. I suppose that's right. Okay, that's something you need to have a tub for, is parts. Because occasionally, I'm already cracked, Jesus. Because occasionally that will happen where you're cutting parts off the sprue and you're a bit careless, like I was just there, or you don't realise that something's only attached at one point and parts fall off. So that just goes in a tub. I'll just literally just set that off to one side. It just sits there, so that way I know that any parts that I need are going to be in there. Some people will go and put it in their spares box straight away, but I don't understand people that do that. At the end of the day, you're just going to end up losing your parts, so I don't see why you'd want to do that, because you're going to get it confused with other kits you've got parts for. And yeah, so I'll just cut the entire sprue away for the bomb rack. It makes it nice, I'm not having to cut off a large bit of sprue. I can just cut out from these smaller bits. I'm just going to trim off these tail sections. If I'm not mistaken, these all come in individual lines. They do. That's what I like to see. Sometimes companies will put them in pairs, like this, where they're in two strips, and then the top pair goes with the top, goes with the bottom. Have it like that. Sometimes they'll do them in pairs like that. So there'll be one pair, another pair, another pair, and that drives me mad. I like when companies do this, makes life nice and easy for you. This is one of those sort of, what a lot of people call it tedious processes. I personally don't mind it. It's a bit of just a relaxing process just to finish off while you wait for paint to dry, or to do before you go and do something else, things like that. You still want to take care of it, because you don't want to get too comfortable and start rushing it. Especially not here, because what I plan to do with this kit, if all goes well, is I actually have these bombs being released in a bit of a diorama, in a way. It won't have a back to it. It'll just be a standalone, I guess it'd be a vignette then, wouldn't it? Not a diorama? Yeah, it'd be a vignette style thing. I had some power coming off there, Jesus. So literally, it will be hopefully positioned with a BF109. Probably use one of the starter kit style ones from Airfix for that. Got one that came with dogfight double knocking about, and I've got another one somewhere, I think, as well. I'm not sure, I have to double check on that. No, I've only got the one. But I'll use that to go with it. It's just a nice little bit to add to the diorama. So they'll be set up, posed, hopefully the BF-109 sort of diving on top of the, or toward B-24, similar to what it's like on the box art. If you've seen the thumbnail of this episode or thumbnail of the previous episodes, depending on how I decide to do it, it'll be very similar to that. So I want to get the rest of these cut off, and I will see you in a minute. So I've got all these trimmed out. So I'm just going to get rid of this spruce. I've got no use for this, so I'm just going to get rid of it. Usually I would say things like that, but I've got quite a few of them at the moment, so I don't really need to bother saving any more at the moment. So one thing I do want to touch on while I'm assembling these actually is Airfix's 2026 range launch. I did have a video recorded for this. I had one set and ready to go, but then my old editing software, which I was going to need to use for that video, just decided, nope, not going to work. So I ended up not posting that video because it was already delayed enough. By the time I got around to fixing the issue and getting new software, it was even more delayed. So I was like, you know what, I'm just not going to bother loading this video. It's too late now. It's too far gone. The moment's passed. Everyone's got their videos out. So I ended up not uploading it. This is before I got my camera set up as well. Speaking of not on a camera setup, mine just died. So I am back, and I'll stitch this together somehow in the next part. So what was I saying? Oh yeah, the Airfix upload. I'm probably going to repeat some of the things that I've said, so I'll just have to bear with me a second. So I'm going to touch on it now. I won't go into detail on it because I can't remember most of the details. But also, I don't really want to take up too much time. It's already a 16, 17 minute long video, so I'll just briefly touch on it. So first of all, that was a shock. Airfix really did pull it off this year. I didn't notice any new Spitfires for a start. There was a couple of new Reeboxes and a couple of new schemes, 3 at most. That was a shock. Not actually having any new Spitfires. That's something that I know a lot of the sort of followers of Airfix have been saying about for a long time. Is you do too many Spitfires, please just stop it. And frankly, they do. They do far too many. I get that it's their flagship kit, but it's too much. Too much. So I'm glad to see that they stopped that. In terms of the new molds, I'm really shocked at what they've released. There's a brand new Junkers G-52 3M GE4, I want to say. I don't remember if that's the right code or not. Someone might fact check me on that. Well, I'll fact check myself later, actually, when I upload this video. But yeah, that really did shock me. That's going to definitely be one I look at purchasing, because it does look like a really nice kit. That'll be diorama kit. That won't be a standalone kit. I'll buy some ground crew and bits to go with it. And that is a very nice kit from the looks of things like that. And the other new tool was the Canberra B-2, I believe. That was also a shot. That's definitely another one that's on the purchase list. I don't do many post-World War II stuff. Post-World War II jets, I don't do many of them. I've never done sort of like one of those early jets before. But I would be really intrigued to how they go together. It does seem like a really nice kit to get going with that. So that's my thought on sort of the new tools. In terms of the vintage classics, some beautiful old kits have come out. The SBD2, that's come out. That is already looking amazing. Then there is the Catalina. That's another one that's on the list to potentially get. But top of my list for the vintage classics is the Queen Mary. That is, I've been waiting for that kit to come out for how many years now? I want to say at least 3. Yeah, I'm waiting for that kit to come out. That's the first the bomb's done, by the way. There's that. And it's finally come out. It was released not long ago in what's called the RF recovery set. And that's been re-released as the whole set as well. So that'd be nice. Comes with some ground crew bits as well, and the crane to go with it. But if I did buy that, I'd probably buy 2. Do one from the RF recovery set, and then do another Queen Mary in not called Queen Mary's, but do the kit in the Queen Mary from Lincolnshire Aviation Heritage Museum. Place that I visit a lot. I've been there quite a few times. Been on the Queen Mary a couple of times to do their airfield tours, and it is an amazing piece of kit, that. So there are quite a few things I'd like to do with it. So maybe that I order a fair few, and I'll do a lot of different things with it. It'll be a cheap kit, I reckon. It won't be. In the day, it's a vintage classic. Plus, it's not exactly a big kit by any means. So it should come in fairly cheap in all reality, which will be nice. I need to check on the price of it actually. But yeah, that's all my thoughts on that. In terms of the ground-based stuff, I don't have a clue. There's really no going to get me to review that. I don't have a clue what the deal with it is. Could be that I might buy like the tactical refueler. That's something I might look at getting, but that'll be dependent on what subjects it would go with, because not something I'll build and just have on its own. In terms of the re-releases, I'm excited to see the P40 and the Nakajima come out. I've not done any Japanese aircraft yet, but I would love to do that Nakajima. It looks amazing, so I would love to do some work on that. But then actually, one very new thing that's come out, I saw the post for it a couple of hours ago actually, was this new flowers range. I've seen a couple of the sprue shots. That's it. I saw sunflower. Someone mentioned about poppy. I don't remember much from it. That is one that I really don't have much interest in personally, but it's interesting to see Airfix bringing it out. It was certainly quite a shock when I saw that come out. That's the second new range that they've launched this year, because they launched, unless you count those 3 gift sets that they launched, and that would make 3. But of the major different lines that they've launched 2. They've launched the what was it called? Airfix Legends. They launched that in the actual range launch. That was a cool thing to see. I'm glad they did that. Probably not something that's on my list immediately, because of how pricey it is for their Douglas Barbie kit. But if they brought out a smaller scale one, I definitely would go ahead with it. And obviously this flowers range doesn't take much of my interest, but it's nice to see they're catering to a lot more audiences now as well, and not just their usual Spitfires and Hurricanes and BF-29s. So in terms of catering to audiences, Airfix has done quite well. They've brought out a range of kits. There's a new... there was one more thing. I can't remember if this is a new tool. I think it is a new tool. They did the Phantom. That was a really big shock. Didn't even think they'd come out. I didn't think they'd come out with the 148 jet flat out, let alone the Phantom. So that was a welcome sight. Probably not something that I'll buy, but it was quite a welcome sight to a lot of modelers, I'm sure. So the last thing to touch on is the club kit. The club kit. Where do I start with that? Well, it seems to be very questionable, because there's definitely no sign of them having released a new mould for the Vigan. And I'm quite disappointed in that, really, because that means they've used the Vintage Classic tooling, unless they've bought the molds from another company, which I don't think they have. I'm not saying anything about it. And because they've used the Vintage Classics tooling, it's actually an incorrect aircraft. The one they have is for a prototype, from what I understand, not for the Vigan that was actually used for that display aircraft. So, a bit disappointing. I'll admit, I'll be straight with you. I'm not exactly excited about that. But at the end of the day, I'm not that bothered, because jets aren't really my thing. The Tiger Moth, however, I am quite excited for. I love that Swedish scheme, although I might not do it in the Swedish scheme. I may well do a custom scheme for it, which in the end of the day I've got my reasons for. But if I don't, I will buy another Tiger Moth at some point and do it in that Swedish scheme just to have one, because it looks amazing. They've got one in 148 that I know of, in a very similar, if not the same scheme, but I'm going to stick with the 172nd one for now, purely on the basis of I've not got room for many more 148 kits. I mean, even the Tiger Moth, as small as it is, it is a quite small aircraft. I've got one knocking about, actually. Grab it. No, Tiger Moth is a tiny aircraft in 1/72 scale. This is quite an old one that I did now. It's one of the little boxings. Paint's really not going down well. God, it's dusty. Yeah, so it's not exactly a big kit by any stretch of imagination. This one might actually feature on the channel at some point. But it'll be a nice one to see in that scheme in 1/72, because the 1/48 one, it's still too big for the space that I've got at the moment. I've got to wait to get some new shells and things put in before I crack on with this. So I think, look at the time. Yeah, I'm going to have to cut the video off here, I think, guys. So I want to thank you all for watching, and I will speak to you in the next one. Talk to you then.